Tonight, gentlemen, we are talking about something that was we have for those of you who are watching, we have a topic chart, and we were able to kind of suggest topics that go into the show that we want to talk about. Shouts to everybody before I get into this. Shouts to everybody who has been watching the House of Common show regularly, who's either been watching it live with us or watching it later on. Last week we had a conversation about mental health, and it was such a good conversation that we shut down YouTube. We literally, the House of Common show, we were so on fire with our topic about mental health that we shut down YouTube. Okay, that's a little bit of an exaggeration. YouTube shut down for everybody, but I'm going to say that we shut down YouTube. Fair? Anyone want to argue that?
I'll let you have that. I'll let you have it.
It's a dub. It's a win.
If a tree falls in a forest.
Who am I to say that it didn't happen?
Who am I to say that didn't happen? Exactly. YouTube didn't say that wasn't us, so I'm going to say it was us.
Wisdom, huh?
So if you haven't watched that video, go back and watch it. If you haven't listened to that podcast on Spotify or an Apple podcast, make sure to go listen to that conversation. It was a really good one. But that was a topic that we suggested. The week before that, we suggested that. And this topic that we're talking about today was one that was suggested that we voted on as the topic that we're going to talk about tonight. Tonight, we are talking about pastors and the drip. Pastors and style. Preachers and sneakers, not necessarily the Instagram account, not necessarily.
Walk it like a talk it, walk it like a talk it.
We're gonna drop some Bigos now. That's what's happening right now. Let's go for it.
Oh, I thought you were cheering for the Habs again. That was weird.
No. I'm just saying, some pastors have like walk-on music. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, Pentecost Tuesday.
So wrong. Low praise music, huh?
So if you don't know anything about the Instagram account, Preachers and Sneakers, is created by a guy by the name of Ben Kirby. He an influencer leader, 31-year-old out in the States. 2019, he made a comment about Elevation's worship team. Elevation Worship's worship team. They were all wearing Yeezys and different things like that on their platform. And he was saying, listen, if you get paid $800 enough to be able to pay for $800 shoes, I want to be on your payroll. Someone thought that what he said was really funny and that he should create an Instagram account about it. Thus began a 2-year odyssey where he would screenshot influential celebrity pastors. That's the word that he would call them, celebrity pastors, wearing expensive shoes like Yeezy 2s or Yeezy Red Octobers, which retail now for $10,000. Or shattered backboard Jordan 1s or different things like that. You can tell that I enjoyed Jordans like everybody else. And so this became a phenomenon in not only Christian circles, but outside of that as well. And so in light of that, it created arguments among people because some people were like, pastors should only wear Brooks. Pastors should only wear Venture shoes.
Yo,
that have Velcro on them.
Yo, Brooks are expensive. If you're getting those runner Brooks, like, yo, those are expensive.
Tim, what number? What's the release? What are we looking up right now?
We're talking about Brooks 7s. Brooks 7s.
Yo, I got those Brooks 7s.
The Brooks 3s are crazy.
Only ever the newest ones.
My bad. The black cement ones, right? Those ones are crazy.
Back to the intro. Anyhow, back to the intro.
What's the aftermarket on Brooks?
What's the aftermarket on StockX? Pair of Brooks.
On StockX. I'm gonna look that up right now.
Yo, you know, every Walmart greeter has them, fam. So
On
stock can never go down. It can only go up.
I'm about to find the most expensive Brooks you've ever looked at in your life.
Oh my
God. 60,
so back to the intro.
Brooks on Grail.
So back to the intro. Some would say you should only wear this, but others would say it's the pastor's money. They can wear whatever they want. So the conversation we're going to have tonight is, should pastors be wearing Gucci belts? Should pastors be wearing Yves Saint Laurent jackets? Should they be wearing expensive, exclusive Jordan 1s or Kobe's or Yeezys? Or should they dress plainly in polo shirts and cargo shorts and slip-on shoes and whatever else? Because that's what pastors should be doing. And is that okay if they dress lower, but they serve people who have no problem with spending their money extravagantly on different things? Is it the same thing if they're not necessarily buying clothing, but they're buying computer equipment and our music equipment, our boats, are going on some multiple vacations, all that sort of stuff? Pastors and drip. Gentlemen, the first question is this. When you first saw the Instagram account, Preachers and Sneakers, what were some of the first things that came to your mind? What are some things that you thought about?
I want to be on there one day. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's
Oh,
always.
you're actually not joking about that.
You were not joking.
You were dead
You
serious.
liar.
He's not
Nobody
joking.
on there has lows.
You
man.
are a liar.
I'm yeah, you're
Fine,
right.
nobody has
The
lows
lie
on that
detector
account.
determined that was a lie.
What they call guilt?
Yeah. No, but truth say, when I first saw it, I was like, is this allowed? Like, it's kind of something kind of always been on the low. You know, certain pastors, specifically celebrity pastors, they got money in the pocket. And it's kind of a thing that nobody really talks about. They drive really nice cars. They have like the super expensive Balenciaga shoes or boots or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like they have specific things that people never really talked about. And this guy, in typical millennial fashion, was just like, well, this can go on. This can be a meme channel, and of course it explodes, right? And the first thing I thought when I first saw it was like, yo, is he allowed to do this? Like, I've known this, but he's putting it on blast. So I don't know. I thought it was kind of wild out here.
You're gonna put them on.
I'm not gonna lie. When I seen it, my first reaction was, "Yo, these shoes are nice, bro." Like, I was solely there for the shoes. I was like, "Yo, this guy's got Red Octobers on certain dough."
Yo, I was just glad that nobody knows how expensive the boots I wear are.
Yeah.
Right?
You outed yourself, dummy.
Yo,
O'Shea was just happy
I'll do a
that the
closet
two
tour
things
for
that he loves the most were actually on one platform. He's like, yes, church and shoes.
Man, one preacher.
we gotta go boot
Right.
shopping. O'Shea, I'll show you what's up.
I don't wear boots. What are boots?
Yo,
It's your
man,
shoes.
one preacher.
Your generation doesn't wear
$1,000 Versalingos and some water. That's all I'm gonna say. I'll move on.
What did you say?
What did you even say, Jason?
Nobody heard you.
Jason
They
speaks so
sneaks with
smoothly.
some
Say
water.
Murcielagos in water? What?
Yes. He has them in water, like literally like soap. You don't
No. Okay, start again.
No,
Yeah.
I'm saying like he
Oh, was
had
that Michael Todd?
Versalingo. Yeah,
Yeah.
in water, like covered in
Oh
water.
yes, I thought. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, the Michael Todd video. Yeah.
In the boat.
In the boat.
Right.
Was it those or was it Balenciagas?
Yeah, Balenciaga is covered.
Oh, Balenciaga. Okay.
Yeah, Balenciagas in the water. You're kind of like those are very. But listen, but when you have money, right?
I heard
Yeah.
Murcielago.
Yeah, you said Murcielagos.
Yeah,
bro.
Murcielago's a
Wait,
place.
isn't
I
that
was like, yo,
Donald- isn't that
he
where
has a
Donald
country on
Trump-
his
No, isn't that a car?
Plays golf?
It's a
Oh,
Lamborghini.
Murcielago's
Murcielago's a
a
Mar-a-Lago.
Oh,
No, I
Mar-a-Lago.
said
Mar-a-Lago. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I said
This guy put this
swear you
Murcielago
did
in the water.
All right, so let me
There
ask
was
you
a
a question.
flood
then.
at Trump Towers. What?
So why do you think people care about this stuff? Why do you think for some people it's a big deal to, like Bar, you said, like, you know, like people, he was putting it on blast. Like these are things that we talk about when we're at conferences. We talk about them around tables in quiet conversations, like whispering, but that's never something that like gets exposed. You know what I'm saying? And then this guy decides on Instagram to put these mans on blast to the point where they have to then defend themselves on the actual post that they're tagged in and say, "Oh, these shoes were a gift. Somebody gave them to me. I got an honorarium, and somebody also gave me these shoes.
Yeah.
Don't come after me."
They didn't have cash. They only have Balenciagas.
Yeah.
Balenciagas
No,
can't
that
be
look
taxed.
Yo, it's true though. I got a pair of sneaks once.
Yep. Yeah, man. That's
Because you're Calvin.
Yeah.
Because you're
That's a real
Calvin.
thing.
Yeah, I got.
And
Oh,
you
you-
never,
that
and
happened
you
to
don't,
you,
and you
Adam?
didn't even remember Adam's name.
No.
That's how famous you were.
It was that conference.
that same conference. Adam got something to that.
Adam, you got one too?
No, I
Adam
didn't.
is-
No. Don't out me like that. Don't out me like that. I have gotten a gift. I have gotten sneaker gifts, but not from conferences. Not as a minister.
Okay.
Minister.
I here.
Man,
I guess that's how these Canadian churches roll, eh?
Sometimes they're too.
Hey, don't watch us. Don't watch us.
Sometimes they don't-
The CRA does a mess, man.
I think Chase, to answer your question,
Yeah, I
I
was gonna
think
ask,
a
go
lot
ahead.
of this has been a conversation that's been happening for years. It's just now shoes, right? Remember, it was $1,000 suits back in the day, in cars and houses, right? Like they pulled up on Creflo. Actually, no, Creflo is not a good example.
No.
My man wanted to play. Never mind, wrong example.
Hey, so
Not Creflo.
They're pulling up on people for wanting suits and stuff, for having suits and expensive
Jets.
suits.
Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that.
Jets and
Um,
islands.
And things like that. So, but here's the thing, man. It's at what point in time do people lose the sense that being a pastor is another job? Please don't mistake what I'm saying. this is a job, but there's a certain connotation. There's a certain, there's an attachment to this job. You have to feel the call of God on your life and all these things. But at the end of the day, like if someone loses their job in ministry, they still have bills to pay, right? Like we lose that, and so we lose that idea, I think. And people think that, listen, if you're a pastor, you have to be the poorest of the poor. You have to live like a lowly servant. You have to, you have to live below the means. You have to live at the poverty level, right? Like you have to live like you ain't got no money. And I think that people forget that these guys, especially the ones that are featured on the Instagram account and a lot of these bigger pastors, they're basically high level CEOs. High level is not the right. No, they're CEOs of an organization that brings in a lot of money, and they get they get paid well. There you go. That's the word I was going to use. And so if they choose to buy shoes, then they choose to buy shoes. If they get the latest releases because they got a link out the back door at Foot Locker, boom, allow them. Like I don't get why people get upset because these guys are wearing it. Now I understand maybe if you're like, oh boy, if you're church, if you're you know what?
Be careful.
Go ahead, Steph.
Yeah,
go ahead,
Be
bro.
careful.
You know what?
Go ahead, bro.
I yield the balance of
Stefan
my
doesn't know how
time.
to do
I'm getting
subtext.
ready. I'm getting ready.
You're a punk, bro.
Get ready.
Get ready.
Fuck, you're actually a punk.
Jonesy's getting ready to check.
I yield the balance of my time.
No, but,
okay,
no,
here's-
hold up.
here's the deal.
Hold up. What's so wrong about him saying that though?
No. Okay, no. Hold on.
That's what he's
We're
not
gonna-
saying.
we're not gonna-
Go there.
What he's not
It's
saying.
what he's not saying. It's what he's not saying.
It's about what he's
It's not what he
about
said.
to
It's about
say.
what he didn't
Bet.
say.
So
When you
what is so wrong
it's
with
not
him
your
saying
turn,
that if
man.
your church
It's not
is
your
on
turn.
side?
Your turn. Go
Okay,
second
we're
no,
gonna
no,
come
it's
back
not
to
your
you.
turn.
We're
There's
gonna
no
come back
turns.
to you, young buck.
It's not your
Go
turn,
Come
young
back
man.
Go
to
on to your bed.
There is no turns. No one put
It
that in
is.
the
There
thing.
is
Check the
turns.
chat, dog.
Check the
Yo,
chat.
check the
There's a
chat.
turn.
Yo, I can't.
I'm gonna
Yo,
add you
okay.
right now. I'm gonna add you right now.
My bad.
Okay. Let me break it down like this. I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, Stefan, in terms of like what's so wrong in that, like pastoring or ministry. A lot of times by vocation, if you're fortunate to be paid, you know what I mean? Like then it is in a lot of ways like another job. You get a paycheck every 2 weeks or whatever it is, however the church chooses to remunerate you. But the thing is this is that like there is that other aspect of it where there are some people who are taking copious amounts from the ministry, siphoning funds that is supposed to be going that is named to be going to that's supposed to be going to the work of the ministry that are using it for their personal use. And obviously we know, like, I think that's to answer Chris your question. It's like that's why everybody has such a strong opinion on this, is that people want to see that like the money that they're giving is not going to your wardrobe, but that it's actually going to the work of ministry and stuff. And who's to say? And the other thing is this, is that like on the flip side of that, like we also have to understand that some pastors are some of the most connected people in society. They've got, high level people going to their churches and everything like that. They get gifts and stuff from congregants all the time. And so like, it is a very believable thing that for a lot of these guys that they get things as gifts. I just watched a video on YouTube of a gospel singer who was at a writing retreat, and a guy walks up to him with a box of shoes that weren't even out. And it's just like, yeah, these are for you. And that's just part of the thing.
Culture.
Is it right? That's part of the culture, but is it right? Who's to say? Like, not me. I don't know.
Yeah, for me, when I think about it, like it also has to do with like if you look at the people within their congregation, and if I'm a part of the congregation and I know that I'm not even able to put food on the table, and I'm and I'm tithing to this ministry, and the leader of this ministry is doing things where there's excess, or be perceived to be excess, for some people, they look at it, that's why they're going to feel away. They're like, yo, this guy is supposed to be the one who who preaches on the stage. It's better to give than to receive, or it's better to be the the one who is willing to lay down his life for his brother. But then members of your congregation are struggling, and you're flying in in private jets, and wearing the best of the best kicks. Now I fully recognize that there are people that get that stuff for free, and they're connected, as Hosky has said. But then there's that idea of, well, would you be willing to take what you're getting and then, or at least portions of it, and give it back so that you could help those that are around you. And I'm not saying you're supposed to be poor, like Stefan, you went to that extreme that some people say that we have to be poor. I'm not saying you got to be poor, but when it gets to the point where it's excess, like where it's like above and beyond, that's where people are a little like, they think away. And the last thing I'll say on it is like,
Well, what defines excess?
Can
wait your turn.
He's not giving a take though. He's
That's
asking
good.
a
Well
he's giving
done.
no, he's
Well
staying
done.
within. He's staying within.
He's asking a follow-up
Yeah,
question.
He's staying within. He's
So
staying
he can still
within
wait
Korean
his
time.
turn.
O'Shea was
It was
O'Shea
in
was
the
doing the same thing.
O'Shea was
So
doing the
Oh.
same thing.
was
He
doing the
said,
same
"What's
thing.
so
He
wrong
was-
with
he
what Stefan said?"
replying to Stefan.
It was the same thing. The last thing I'll say is this in terms of the church at large, and this is more of on a macro scale. Like when it comes to like social services didn't even exist a little over 100 years ago. And the reason why social services didn't exist was because the church was that. So when there was things going on within society where people, it was the church that stepped in and gave to that. And now that that's been removed because the church didn't want to live up to that, the government had to step in and provide that. Even more so, it highlights that the church is not being what it used to say that it was when they see that the leaders are taking the money that could potentially go to helping the communities and taking it for themselves.
Okay,
And-
hold on.
and
No.
using
Wait. I'm gonna address it. Hold on.
No,
Just leave it.
Bar. Let me go.
Listen. We got to get some comments first.
No, wait your
No,
turn.
because it's within this statement.
Whoa. O'Shea,
It's with-
I got host
O'Shea.
duties. I
No,
got
no,
host
I'm talking to
duties.
Calvin. I'm talking to Calvin.
Okay, I was about to say.
Chris, no, it's within that comment though. It's within that comment.
Like,
about
I'm
social
very violent.
assistance, and some people are going to be upset about this, but there are definitely people who are faithful church attenders, who are faithful tithers, or maybe not, who give, maybe they don't, who are on social assistance, who benefit from church programs, who dress way better than the pastors and are on
100%.
vacation way more often than the pastors of the churches they go to, and still being assisted by the government.
But that's not 100%. But the ones
That's
that
just
are
the
in
other side of a
question,
You
coin.
can stop in Jay's.
but
in
the ones
Jamaica
that are
3
in
times a year,
question, that
but
they're not.
complain-
They're not. They are the ones that are in question. They are going on better vacations. They're flying in private jets, and in their congregation there are people, yes, that are, but they're still not on the level that these pastors are, and there's still other members within their congregation that are not doing that are the ones specifically that are looking up and seeing that, and they're the ones who are complaining. I'm not saying that it's a blanket statement that everybody on social assistance is looking at that and complaining.
Right.
I'm saying that there's
I'm just saying I know some people on social that are doing better than all of us. If it comes to what Instagram looks like.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Instagram
That could
That's
be like
another thing.
that could be a secondary question or tertiary or whatever. But let's get to some of the questions that we have or comments rather inside the chat. Nelly in the chat said, "Blessed are the feet of those who preach the gospel." So I guess that means
Come on, preach that word.
Yeah, Stefan says, let's go. Zach Baker is in the chat. Zach Baker is responding, I think, to Stefan's comment where he says, lead pastors equal CEO, fair statement. So then leaders get to choose how they lead, able to be a humble servant, able to portray a little bit, a bit of a lofty image. Just be okay with how it can be misread. Again, very, very fair statement as well. We also had Jonathan Johnson in the chat that says, I think folks have a problem when pastors become too flashy and untouchable to their congregants. Some of these pastors get their residuals from book sales and speaking engagements. And then we had somebody try to press us for our T4s as ministers here on the chat. We are not a non-for-profit group, so we don't have to disclose information about income.
My T4 is 0.
Nah, House of Common.
Oh, boy.
House of Common
Oh,
is
no.
for
Yo,
profit.
you got to start
It's
flipping
free
Brooks.
for profit though.
Oh no, I
Sponsor
dropped
our show.
my T4 in the chat. I have no problem.
If you want to
with that.
sponsor our show and be a sponsor of our show and put and help us out,
I don't-
gladly email us at thehouseofcommon@gmail.com. Let's get that happening.
Lastly, we have Benton Gibbons, who's been dropping bombs today in the chat, by the way. He said, if pastors are meant to be underpaid, live under the poverty line, struggle financially, do we not set them up for failure, burnout, family stress, etc.? And I definitely all of that stuff that he's saying. It's such a complicated conversation because you don't know everyone's full story and you're reading a snippet of the information based off of what you see. And a lot of times you may see something that is expensive, and it's so expensive you didn't even know it was expensive. If you know what I'm talking about. Like you see uber rich people wear certain things that we don't even know what that is. And it just looks normal. It looks like a black t-shirt. And it's not just a black t-shirt. You can't even get that. They don't even put price tags on those things, right? You know what I'm saying? So in my perspective is the same way that that's true, the flip side is also true. So if a pastor is making a wage and he's working at a regular medium-sized church, you don't know that he also has like a family business or an inheritance, and he doesn't have a mortgage and he doesn't have these things. He could have excess money and chooses to spend it on things that he likes, like a boat or living, a cottage or whatever it is. It doesn't always have to be because it's physical on you, and that's the other side of this too, Chase, with this whole idea of preachers and speakers specifically, it's very much in the mainline urban culture of preachers. It's not.
Oh, I was going there.
I'm just going to drop it for a quick second. Rick Warren has a lot of money. Rick Warren doesn't wear Yeezys. You know what I'm saying? Like he probably has a boat and multiple homes and makes lots of money off book sales. Sure, that makes sense. He has a very large church. He's in a very a wealthy area, a wealthy neighborhood in Southern California. Yeah, so he probably has excess, lots of money. I don't think there's a problem with that, but he doesn't dress like Furtick does, and he doesn't make asking people for money for a jet. You know what I'm saying? So there's a difference in terms of how people want to be perceived in terms of public culture and what is popular right now. So the more popular or celebrity type pastors become more popular on social media, the more they want to actually emulate the people that they want to reach. The people that they want to reach are these young families and millennials, and young families and millennials actually care about sneakers, even when they're in their 30s and in their 40s. They care about having, nice hats, nice clothes, nice jackets. Like Andrew Jones is wearing an $800 jean jacket. You wouldn't know that by looking at him, but actually Andrew Jones.
See, that's how rumors get started.
That's how rumors get started.
We're on YouTube right now. You can't spit stuff like that.
Why you always lying?
Why are you lying, man? Andrew, show them the
Yo, why do you think he leads worship at so many events? I see the Lord.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
Andrew's about to show us a Cherokee tag.
That's H&M. That's H&M. $9.99 on the sale rack.
H&M. H&M. There you go. Thanks.
$20.99 on the sale rack.
From 7 years ago.
And it was on the sale rack. I guarantee you, it was.
Andrew, you don't need to justify yourself.
True Religion jean jacket. I got you.
True Religion jean jacket. Had stitched denim. Yep, I see it.
True with the E.
I thought it was Cherokee from Zellers.
Yo,
Zellers.
Moment of silence for Zellers, though. We're the lowest price of the law. Yo, done.
All right, we're done.
The law.
Lowest price
All
of the
right,
law.
who's next?
O'Shea.
Finally.
Been waiting.
I've waited my time, but I think with the whole thing, back to the original question, I think why people get upset, there's a lot of jealousy, to be honest. I think truthfully that's where it stems from a lot of the time, because you got to look at a lot of these people that are commenting on whether XY whoever should be wearing whatever, however, and stuff like that. They don't even attend their church. They attend some next church and they're commenting on something that doesn't even really matter to them. They're just mad because Sneakers Apps is giving them L's while these preachers are taking W's. That's why they're upset.
That's fair.
But I think at the end of the day, man, as long as you're again, even to say this is tough, because if you're putting yourself in debt to buy these shoes, then that's on you at the end of the day, right? That in reality has nothing to do with me, nor should it. And if again, I think to a lot of your guys' points, you're talking about congregants being or making a certain amount, that's a tough statement, because in any church you're gonna have a wide range of people that are making X amount of monies. And if I'm being honest, that would cause a lot of self-reflection on each and every single one of us, because it may not be sneakers, but we all have something that we spend a significant amount of money on, that if we're being honest, if people seen, would probably be like, oh my gosh, like, and raise flags. So I think if we're looking at it in that terms, then
I blame Calvin. He got me on colognes. Now I can't stop.
Parfum, no parfum.
Les parfums.
All depends on the concentration, baby.
Yo, I got that light blue by Dolce & Gabbana.
Walk through it. Don't do the spray and walk through it. If you need a tutorial,
it costs too much money for that.
You join the Patreon. I'll show you how to put on cologne.
Yo, light blue by Dolce & Gabbana and
No.
YSL.
What is this? 1995? Come on.
Can I get that when I walk into Shoppers on that first bracket?
If you can buy it on the $20 rocket at Shoppers.
Hey, listen. But if you have to buy on $20 back, there's nothing wrong with that. Do you at the end of the day?
That's right.
If you're gonna get the cool water, get the Intense, the new one. It's good.
That's what I have, bro. What are you talking about?
O'Shea, was that your time?
But
EDP, baby.
He's not finished yet. He's not finished yet.
He's not done.
Let Shay finish, man.
To like wrap up, man, like I think at the end of the day, man, like y'all need to chilling.
Are you talking to us or to the fans, or who are you talking to?
No, Kelvin, what's happening in the YouTube chat, fam? What's going on?
Everybody, but let man spend what they want to spend their money on, yo. Like at the end of the day, it's none of our business. If someone wants to pull up with a $10,000 pair of shoes, let them pull up. That's on them. Why do we care so much?
Yeah. Like I think it comes down to when you're watching these things, people are caring about how much money these guys make, and at the end of the day, like if somebody's making a lot of money, great. If they're not, it is my only problem. My problem is if a person is making a lot of money, is the rest of their staff being paid adequately?
Talk, Andrew.
And that's okay. What's important to me. If they're getting paid adequately, then I have no problem with the guys making money, because the truth is, the people that have problems usually pastors making money are usually rich people for some reason that I've noticed.
Yeah,
I don't know about the rest. I've noticed that rich people are the ones that have the problem, and it's usually the rich board members of the churches that have the problem. They want to keep their pastors humble. They want to keep them, because I've even heard that from their mouths sometimes. Pastors, they have to stay low, and it's like, but wait a minute, you're getting $100,000, bonus check, and you want me to be making $25,000? Like, come on. Where's
bonus
that
check $25,000?
No. My salary is $25,000.
I was gonna be like, I'd be good with that.
I don't know.
How about you?
Yeah.
I'll take that.
I'd be good with that. All right,
100%. Cool. All right, cool. All right,
cool.
God bless you.
But if these guys listen, if there's a guy that has a church of 2,000, 3,000 people and are making a good amount of money, who am I to say he can't be making that money?
But we know the statistics, though. We know the stats. The stats are most of the time the other subjects do not get any of that money.
That's the problem. And that's the problem. The problem is the others are not making that much money. And that's where, okay, if you're going to be making a lot of money, you got to even that out. You got to pay your people adequately so that they're not stressing out. So they're not, because if we look at scripture, if people are matching it up with scripture, the priests, they had everything given to them.
Come on.
They had food, clothing, home, everything was given to them.
So basically, Andrew, what you're saying is that everybody in the chat should be giving us stuff.
Patreon.
My Venmo is
not now.
Oh, sorry.
You can
fans are asking for the
to me. You can just we can figure that out.
But I'm saying if people want to go back to that, hey, they shouldn't be making enough money. They shouldn't be making money. Okay, well then you should be providing everything for us.
I'll raise a glass to that, my man.
But isn't that the problem? People do feel like they are taking care of that already, and you should be living at a certain level of a humble posture.
The whole tithe principle that goes towards salary complicates it a lot, because there are people, and I'm not jumping ahead of Jason here, but people often feel that I'm giving you your money, and because I'm giving you your salary, I can then, it's like my kids in their allowance. I'm giving you $10. You can't spend it here. You can't spend it there. That's to save it.
Yeah.
Right. And so there are people who will tithe their money and feel like, well, if I'm tithing towards this church, I can then control how the church spends it. So the salary
Yeah.
should be lower because pastors should be lower because their reward is in heaven, not on earth.
That
Meanwhile, they
doesn't
can
sound
watch
like
me.
a cheerful giver to me.
Right.
Mm-mm,
Uh-oh.
mm-mm.
Right.
Don't
But-
proof text.
But, so I'm not, sorry to cut you off, Andrew, but just kind of adding to that, like that's that idea of
Oh
like,
yeah, and then that's the problem that we run into, right? And should pastors be rich? That's a debatable thing. But at the same time, if they are,
No. No, the question is not should pastors be rich. The question is should pastors be rich off the church.
yes,
Yes,
mm.
that's the question.
Fair.
and that is a good question.
But the question, but like,
Jay,
What if-
God, remember Jason's in the wings. Jason's
Yeah,
waiting.
Jason,
yo,
Jay,
yo,
go ahead,
we-
go ahead,
we-
go ahead,
we-
Jay.
yeah, it's Jay's turn. Go
Let me
ahead,
come in
Jay.
after Jay. Let me come in after Jay.
Yeah, I mean, wow, guys. I mean, I think everyone covered a lot of areas, but I think what it comes down to it is that I think Andrew hit on one point how the priests were able to be taken care of from the church, and I like what Chase was talking about and saying how so the priests were taken care of. Even in the New Testament, I mean, the women, they paid for the gospel. It talks about that, I think, in Luke 8 or 9. And, they had so much money that when Judas was taking the money, they didn't necessarily know what was going on. But the whole reality is many people judge pastors, but many people have never been in a pastor's position. Pastors have been rated to having one of the toughest jobs. So if you're thinking about this, all right, so if you're thinking about, okay, you have some pastors, even I'll just give TD Jakes, for example. So he started out extremely poor, and he was poor for many years, having holes in his car. One of my old bishops, he preached at his church. He was saying how, his shirt, the collar was all dirty, because that's all he had. But he went through that time period. So even though he was pastoring, but had so many issues and so many problems at home. So you have some pastors who, who have to do carpentry work, who have to do electrical work, sound system, play the drums, do all these things. And then people say you should be poor. Now, in any other occupation, any other job, all right, if you're doing all these things, you should be paid. If you're working 50, 60 hours a week, not necessarily having a day off, you still should get paid. So, I mean, when it comes down to it, is what we've all kind of been saying tonight is that, okay, these guys, all right, if you're, to me, to be honest, if your people are getting paid, if you're giving to the community, and if you're giving to the poor, I mean, who cares if you have on $500,000 shoes? If you're doing what's right before God, and that's what all comes down to. Only God knows. I can't judge any of the pastors. I don't know what these guys are making. I know what my church is making, or maybe their board, they know what they're making, but that's it.
$500,000, bro. Those are some real Murcielago shoes, eh?
Those shoes better bring me to Jesus.
Okay.
What the heck?
Man's got Lamborghini doors on his shoes.
Okay, guys, what about the whole notion that
it's
like
like-
perception is reality, though? Like, there is an element where, even in the chats here, you can see image is something,
Yes.
right? And so at what point is it irresponsible, or is it reckless and, costly to the message that that we get to share?
Go ahead, Andrew.
No. Go, Calvin. Continue.
Yeah, like, is there a line, and what is the line? Because it is fair to say,
No.
people, like, how you spend your money is how you spend your money, and maybe that's an issue that you have to take up
With the
on
Lord.
the other side of life. But could it be a stumbling block, right?
Yes. So I'm quickly going to say something, and it's also even going to kind of go against a little bit what Jonesy said earlier when he said it's like mostly rich people. Like maybe that's something within the church, but it is a stumbling block, as what Cal is, as somebody who didn't grow up in the church around people that didn't have much money. People where I came from would look at people like that and say, like, y'all don't actually care about the people, because y'all are taking this money that could actually go back to helping the people. And I'm supposed to look at you and believe that you are somebody that cares for those who are, in need. I'm just saying, like, in terms of the stumbling block, is perception is reality. So it's a perception of somebody who's not from the church. I'm talking about people outside the church, who's never grown up in church culture, who looks in and sees what's happening, you know, within the church. And we will know those the drip, we'll know the kicks, all that stuff. And then we see this pastor up on stage doing this and that. You're gonna be like, that's just you trying to hustle the people. Like, that's the perception.
Right,
so the perception is,
hold on a second.
you're
Hold
just
on.
trying to hustle the people. This is your hustle.
I
You do this thing-
understand that, but I don't know if that's that you can put that in every single situation. For example, there was a Time magazine article about 4 or 5 years ago that came out on TD Jakes, and whatever you care about TD Jakes, it's not about that, but it was talking about his money, and they were saying how he lives in this $1 million home. And how he's living this $1 million home. Yet at the same time, it talked about how he gives $1 million to orphanages and how he also gives $1 million to prison ministries. And the money that he receives, he doesn't actually receive from his church. He receives from his books. So yeah, you can say perception is reality, and yes, but I don't think you can just put that as a thing over a blanket statement over every person, because that's not true for every person.
And that I think is the problem, because a lot of people see the church, but I mean, like, how many people go in and say, okay, let me look at your books, and now let me go talk to the pastor and be like, hey, can I see how you're spending? Not like a pastor's going to say that, but people don't actually, I don't think a lot of people understand like how charitable organizations work, and like not every situation has the pastor skimming off the top of the offering on Sundays, right? There are probably like 1% of churches that do that. I'm judging, that's not true. But like, you can't apply that blanket over everybody, because there are some pastors who, like, I'm one of them. I work part-time in a church, but I also work full-time in another job where my salary is public knowledge. Like, I'm and Sunshine List, a couple things, anytime.
Whoa,
things like
you're
that.
on a what?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Sunshine List?
You're on a Sunshine.
Whoa.
That's what
How
you're.
did you hit the Sunshine List?
Stefan, what's your
full-time
OnlyFans?
job?
Yo,
I thought it was something all this time, but maybe it
The
was.
people
I
want the
was wrong.
OnlyFans.
You've been lying with it
So
the entire
that's
time?
that's what you're doing, fam. So that's what you're doing, fam, with that.
Okay. So here's another one.
You
Why
work at
is
a
it
daycare?
easier? All of us were young people when we started working in the church. I was 18. It was easier for me to get into a $30,000 car loan than it was to go and buy a $5,000 BMW. If I got that BMW, I would have got crucified in the neighborhood.
for sure.
I was ministering it.
Mm.
But it was very socially acceptable for me to get into a loan that I shouldn't have ever got into, that I'm still paying off. What about those kind of situations?
Perception.
And then the idea too, right? Like the idea of, you know, you buy a car, and depending on where you live, that's a bad perception. But there might be people in the same church who have the same car as that. You're like that same car, you know, who, and then you talked earlier about the perception versus reality is the adverse effect too, that if you are looking dusty all the time, someone say, listen, I'm not going anywhere near you. You don't even look right. Like, you can't even put two and two together. So like, it's this weird thing. And then again, it's only a judgment call on the minister. It's not a judgment call on the person who attends. It's not a judgment call on the board member. It's always on the minister. And Bart mentioned it really quickly, really, really well. You know, it's a lot of it is within the urban market, right? Running shoes, Vallone t-shirts, Balenciaga, all this sort of stuff. It's all within the urban market that's easily picked on.
Nobody cares
Tim
about
Keller
the,
doesn't wear Balenciaga boots, eh?
But listen, but
nobody cares about the $5,000 guitar.
No. Chase, I do want to comment on this. So it's different. It's not just the fashion things and stuff. It's the theology behind it in terms of the understanding of blessing. And that's the thing, is that like it's the theology that blessing is material things, right?
Yes.
And I think that's one of the deeper conversations or the rabbit trails that we can.
But is that
because that's a dangerous road.
No.
That's
I
a
want
dangerous road.
Adam, can you like?
We should
like,
quickly
expand this a
go
little
there.
bit?
Yeah.
Adam, can you expand this a little bit?
I think
We
that
won't be
I
able to. Yeah.
I just find that in more urban charismatic churches, that the idea of blessing is having more in your life. So it's bigger and better. So you know what I mean? Like you'll hear I mean, we just came through this whole boom of prosperity preaching and stuff, and we're still seeing the tail ends of that in a lot of different churches. But this idea of God blessing you is that you will be you'll have excess, and so therefore you've got a lot of people who are maybe living below the poverty line who really gravitate to this kind of theology because they're saying, I want to get out of this mess, and this is my ticket out. Is that like yeah, I definitely want to serve God because He's going to make my life better. And so how that translates now to when you talk to ministers and stuff, like I remember being a part of a church they thought, the elders thought it was a good idea to gift this minister a Mercedes S500. And meanwhile, you've got people in the church that are struggling with groceries that are like, yeah, here's my, like, take my money. Like, this is a blessing for this person. Like,
But Adam,
and it's a single person, right? And I'm not saying that it's wrong, Cal. Hold on. But I guess what I'm trying to say in this is that, like, it's this idea that the top, this is the blessing. This is it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But
That's when the drip becomes dangerous.
right? But is that an American
Yo,
thing?
tweet that. That's the tweet line. That's the tweet line, boys. That's when the drip becomes dangerous.
Is that an American thing tied to the American dream of this is how I make it, this is how I get there?
This is how I fight my battles.
Right? Or is that do you think that it's on both sides? Is that both sides? You know what? Actually, I kind of answer.
I think it's socio. I think it's
That's prosperity
socioeconomic.
preaching to
Laughed
poor
at-
No, but
people.
it's bigger than that. I think it's socioeconomic. We see in more affluent
Right.
areas that they're gifting people time. So you'll see like in less charismatic, more affluent churches that they'll say, "We'll send you on a trip with your family." You know what I mean? It's like a $10,000 trip or something like that as a bonus. But it's like, that's the blessing. It's like, yeah, you get more time to be able to spend, and we'll gift you with rest and all these kinds of things. Meanwhile, in less affluent churches, right? So to me, like it's just as much a socioeconomic problem as it is a theology problem, as it is, what we're talking about.
We got a couple comments here in the chat. Carousel Tattoo and Barbershop's been dropping a lot of comments and dropping some good stuff in here. He says 10% offerings is a modern construct, not the early church example. Give what you can generously to those in need, period. Percentages are for rich people looking for tax write-offs. He also says, what about wealthy churches that burn out congregations by turning them into full-time volunteers when they should be paying them? And we also have Productions MGMT. Marco Luciani is out here wilding out in the chat. I'm not even going to say some of the stuff that he said. I'll just say this. He wants Chase to refund monies for all the days that he's missed. So I'll just leave that one. I'll just leave that one there. We also have Sean Brophy, who says, Sean says,
Brophy. Sean Brophy in the building. What's
What up,
going on?
Sean?
Sean, how you doing?
Sean,
you know what it
allow
is.
me.
Yeah,
I'm
bro.
sorry, Sean. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. He says you can't store up treasures here. Life is meant to be enjoyed, but we need wisdom. I think wisdom is super important in what we're doing right now, man.
Kristen
Perception
said.
is key.
Kristen said that American pastors get cars and Canadian pastors get getaways.
I have
We don't
never
get getaways. We get gift cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a gift card for Petro Canada.
No,
We don't.
fam.
We don't
I
get
legit
getaways.
got paid
Milestones
once.
for milestones. And
Yo,
Kelsey's.
I put it in the YouTube chat. I got paid once with a Boston Pizza gift card. It
I
was
did too.
scuffed. Oh no, my picture's gone. It was scuffed, and they never told me how much was on it. And I still, to this day, I have it in a shoebox because I don't know. I'll never use it.
Yo, that's roulette. That's roulette. Yo, one day he's gonna go and
Yo.
pay for a massive meal and go like, I don't know how much is on this card right now, sir.
Oh, Calvin, honestly, we need to see that as a part of your set next week. Just frame
The
it.
card,
Yeah.
the card for sure. Timothy, you've been really quiet here. You've been really quiet in the chat. I'm gonna bug you. What are some of your thoughts on this whole thing?
On a level, the whole idea of shoes and being flashy doesn't really appeal to me. It's one of those things where I am probably more of the ilk of the individual, like Francis Chan, where he writes a book that becomes a New York Times bestseller, and his response is, "How can I give this away?" Instead of this itself will be perceived as some level as a slant. It's like the Mike Todds of the world, where it's like he gets his royalty check and he's like, yo, how can I spend this on my shoes? And it's not to say that he did not do anything good with with it for purpose and everything else, because it's one of those things. It's the biblical principle. It's like you don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing, outside of the fact that he is wearing really nice shoes, so he's
drives a
letting
Tesla.
everyone else know.
And going
he
on
drives
live.
a Tesla.
Yo, fam, these guys wanted proof. They wanted proof.
Oh,
We don't believe
Hey.
you. You need more people.
And
That's
so
really
it's like
good.
the
Look
there
how
we go.
stuffed this is.
I need you to go on the website and type in the information and let me see where that card was loaded.
I've never looked
fan.
at my treasures are in heaven.
Let Tim
Tim,
speak.
finish, let Tim finish, let Tim
I
finish.
know.
Finish.
Go ahead.
I
Tim.
know. And so it's the struggle, the challenge of it is. Oh yeah, and by the way, those Brooks were $299. They're nice.
Brooks,
Check it
Brooks,
out.
Brooks. Bench your shoes, baby.
But anyways, what ends up happening is it's like it doesn't mean that you can't have nice things. Being a preacher of the gospel, but the moment that you have nice things becomes a smokescreen to the reason why you are doing what you're doing, I think it's kind of beyond the point. It doesn't mean that you can't have a nice house. It's like we're in Toronto. It's like I could get a house downtown that'll cost me $2.3 million. It doesn't mean that I am completely loaded. It's just the reality of the world that we live in right now. And inflation is real. It's like that is the world, that it is what it is. That pretty much is it, to quote someone that is famous in the show. And at the end of the day, it's like I don't care. And I always come back to the lyrics from rapper Swoop on his song Flex. How you feast on a lobster and you don't eat with your partners, meaning that you can't call yourself a boss. If your people is jobless, boss up.
When Tim drops lyrics, you shut the show down.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
100.
It's a wrap.
I thought he was gonna quote
Jodeci?
50 Cent, pop my collar like Creflo Dollar. No, okay.
You thought it was called Jodeci? Guys just start singing "Love You for Life." Jeez, oh man. Any last words, boys, on this topic? This is one we can probably do a 2-parter or a 3-parter on for sure.
I think
so.
I think that listen, if we're gonna judge people based on what they're wearing when they preach, I think we're losing it a bit in our society if that's the biggest problem. We don't care if they're
God wants to wear his Jordans without judgment.
I don't care.
That's
I don't care
exactly
what
Jordan
what it
Lows. His Jordan Lows, by the way.
I don't care what anybody says. I'm wearing my Jordans on stage. Listen, I have had great conversations. You're right. I have had great conversations with students over Jordans, over shoes, and I've used that as a way to reach out because you know what?
Oh, stop this.
No,
the show's
no,
over,
no,
guys.
no, no,
The show's
no,
over.
no,
I got the
We
Jordan
should
so I
have
can
ended
reach the
after
kids.
Tim. We should have ended right after
Yo,
Tim.
this show is over.
To the people from
Close
Jesus.
this.
Yo, I
change
wear my
clothes,
Rolex.
close it out.
So when I
Close it out.
walk
Jordan Jesus.
down
We're
the
gonna
Mink
have
Mile,
an after talk, and Stefan will be able to say what he was going to say, right? Well, that was like the post credits, like like in the Marvel movies where they have the extra scene after the credits go through, like the midway. That was Stefan right there.
Hey,
Ladies
Benton
and
wants to
gentlemen.
know if we're taking up an offering at the end of the show. I think we should.
No, but if
Is
you
he
want to
paying?
sponsor our show, get in the emails and let us know how you can partner with us to make the show kind of be a bigger thing. You know what I mean? So listen,
Yeah,
Anything you want
O'Shea
to go
needs
back
a
to
new
the
setup.
people.
So
anything give us
Or
go back
if you
to
like
people,
to
'cause we
sponsor
are a
church
show
plants.
for the people.
I
If
need
you
a
have
new
comments-
camera,
O'Shea
new
needs,
light.
needs a camera and some lighting.
Anyhow,
Just
listen.
just send an e-transfer to the House of Commons Gmail, and they'll get it right
Facts.
to me. You feel me?
Okay. And with that being said,
and
you know
on
what?
that note,
Can I finish this thing off, guys?
Go
With
ahead,
that
bro.
being said, if you have any thoughts or questions beyond this, make sure to send a message to the House of Common, direct message on Instagram or on Twitter or on Facebook. Make sure to email us at thehouseofcommon@gmail.com with any comments. We might read that out on a future episode. We might put it in our Instagram, that sort of thing. You know how it is. And make sure always, subscribe to this channel that you're on right now. If this is your first time watching, subscribe to it. Make sure that you know the notification for next week's show. If you're listening on podcast, make sure to subscribe on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. If you're going to wear the
Please fill out our connection card form as well.
Oh my goodness. If you're going to drip,
I'm not
drip
skimming off the top.
responsibly. Drip responsibly. This has been the House of Common Show.
Hey, thanks for watching one of our House of Common Show clips. To get more of this conversation on either YouTube or on podcast, click the link in the description below or at the end of this video. Remember that we are on live on YouTube at 10 o'clock every single Tuesday, and we drop a podcast every single Friday. Make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and we will see you again with some more clips. This has been the House of Common Show.